Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being with us throughout these presentations today. We're really pleased to be able to share all of this great work and research that all of the presenters that you've heard have done with the industry documents. And we're really interested to know how you all are looking at using the documents and how we can support you in that work. So this next section of the workshop is going to be more of a how-to. We're going to look at the Industry Documents Library. We're going to have a live search demonstration so you can see how to put all of this search into practice. And then after that, we're going to move into smaller groups so that you can talk to some of our expert researchers that we have here at the workshop, do some hands-on practice yourself, try out the website and look through some documents and see what you can find. And then we'll all come back together again just to talk about how that went and any advice that you received or any tips that you want to pass on to others, and just have a bit of a chance to network with the other folks who are here in the workshop with us today. So without further ado, let me get started. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Kate Tasker, and I am the Industry Documents Library Managing Archivist. I'm a librarian and I have experience in digital archives, and my role here at UCSF is to lead our team of archivists and software developers to manage and preserve the millions of documents in the Industry Documents Library. My colleague Rachel Taketa is here. She is our processing and reference archivist. And Rachel, if you're there, would you like to just quickly unmute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Taketa. I am the Ideal Processing and Reference Archivist, and I'm super excited to do the hands-on portion today after Kate. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rachel. So here are our email addresses on the screen. If you have any questions about anything related to the Industry Documents Library or the collections, please feel free to reach out to either of us at any time. And of course, we'll be monitoring the Q&A and we'll have time to address questions in the breakout sessions as well. So here is a quick outline of what we're going to be talking about. We're just going to start with a kind of a more general introduction to the Industry Documents Library and the Truth Tobacco Industry Documents Library collection, and give you an overview of our IDL website. We'll have a very short interactive activity that you can participate in if you'd like. We'll try and create a word cloud together with ideas for search topics and keywords to use in the library. And if you'd like to join in for that, it's just clicking on a link and typing something into a box, and we'll share more information on the screen at the time. Then we'll follow that with an overview of some useful search strategies, and Rachel will walk us through a live demo on how you can put these strategies into practice. And then, as I mentioned, we'll move into some breakout rooms for a little bit more hands-on practice and some advice from our document research experts, and then come back together again to wrap things up. So you've heard from our previous speakers from really wonderful and insightful presentations about how they've used industry documents to support research, policymaking, and public health advocacy. So now we'll look at an overall picture of what's in the IDL and how you can use it too. So the Industry Documents Library, or IDL, as we frequently refer to it, is a digital portal to millions of documents which were created by industries that influence public health. It's hosted by the University of California, San Francisco Library, and it's managed by a team of archivists, librarians, and technologists. It began in the early 2000s, as you've heard from Naftali, as the Legacy Tobacco Documents Library. And now it includes more than 18 million documents, all total, relating to the tobacco, opioid, chemical, drug, food, and fossil fuel industries. And the URL for the library is just up here on the screen. It's industrydocuments.ucsf.edu. I'm not sure if there's a way we can share the link out to participants, but hopefully you all can find that. Otherwise, just searching for Industry Documents Library will bring you right to it. So a little bit more about what you'll find inside the IDL. So just imagine what you would find inside the file cabinets or hard drives of a large corporation or an executive's files. The document that's shown here on the screen is one of our more famous documents. It's a memo called Smoking and Health Proposal, which was prepared by marketing executives at the Brown and Williamson Tobacco Company in 1969. And this is the Doubt is Our Product document, which Naftali talked about earlier. This document in particular has been frequently analyzed and cited by the tobacco control, public health, and policymaking communities to illustrate the industry's strategies to create doubt about the scientific research on the harms of smoking in order to prevent or delay regulation and public action. So this is a kind of document that you might think of as a smoking gun. It's very clearly shows the industry's intent to suppress information about the risks of the product and to influence public opinion. However, you won't always find such a powerful smoking gun document. Since the 1960s, the industry, of course, has become more careful about what they put into writing. So you may find that you have to look through multiple documents to really understand this larger context. And also be aware that not all of the documents that were created by a company or an industry were made public. So even though we do have millions of documents in the library, it may not be the entire record of what happened at a company. Not all of those documents were made public through the litigation. So again, as Naftali and others have mentioned, it's really important to corroborate what you find in the library with other sources and to look at other sources of information. So a little bit more about where the documents come from. So as you've heard, some of the documents in the library at the very beginning actually came from a whistleblower at the Brown and Williamson Tobacco Company. The whistleblower used a code name, Mr. Butts, after a quite famous cartoon character in the Doonesbury comic strip. And the whistleblower sent a box of paper documents to UCSF professor Stanton Glantz. Professor Glantz brought those documents to the UCSF library for safekeeping and so that others could also look through them. Another 40 million pages of documents came from the Master Settlement Agreement, or the MSA, which Naftali talked about earlier. So this again was a historic settlement back in 1998 between almost all of the US states and the major tobacco manufacturers and related organizations. And among other requirements, the MSA forced the tobacco companies to make available to the public any of their internal documents produced in litigation, which involved smoking and health. And this was really unprecedented. This has never happened. If there was a lawsuit or a trial, any documents that had been produced in the litigation were either returned to the companies or sealed, sometimes destroyed. So the fact that these documents became public was really historic. It was a major shift in the ability for anybody interested in what was happening in the industry to look kind of behind the curtain and to really have access to all of these internal documents. So because of this requirement in the MSA, the tobacco companies had to post documents to a public website, which we collected every month. The Industry Documents Library collected all the documents on the tobacco companies' websites. Those websites were in place until September 2021. That was when the requirement to make the documents public ended. So we were able to collect over 92 million pages. And we're also now collecting millions of documents being disclosed from settlements in other lawsuits, in particular from litigation against the opioid industry. And then other document collections come to us through, again, litigation in other industries and against other companies, from law firms, from journalists, and others who file Freedom of Information Act requests. We have public court records, and sometimes we work with other libraries and archives to partner with them to either digitize paper documents that they look after or to work together to make more information like this accessible online. So if you're interested in learning more about how we collect documents, or if you're aware of documents which could be added to the library, please take a look at our website. You'll find some more information on the About page, or you can feel free to reach out to me and to Rachel with any questions. So the tobacco documents, of course, are where it all began. The collections were established with a gift from the American Legacy Foundation, which also created the UCSF Center for Tobacco Control Research and Education. The library was originally known as the Legacy Tobacco Documents Library after the foundation. When the foundation changed its name to Truth Initiative in 2015, our collections became known as the Truth Tobacco Industry Documents Library. And I'd like to acknowledge and thank the Truth Initiative for their very long-standing support to the library and to UCSF. So with the tremendous research and impact of the tobacco industry documents, UCSF recognized the growing interest by researchers and the public to study documents from other industries. So in 2005, we established the Drug Industry Documents Archive, which initially housed documents from an off-label marketing lawsuit against the pharmaceutical company Parke-Davis, which is now a subsidiary of Pfizer. In 2017, we began working with the UCSF program on reproductive health and the environment to collect and preserve chemical industry documents, in particular relating to agrochemicals and other toxic substances. In 2018, we launched the Food Industry Documents Archive in partnership with Kristen Kearns, who you heard speak earlier, and with other colleagues at the UCSF Philip R. Lee Institute for Health Policy Studies. And this partnership has enabled us to collect over 173,000 documents, mostly about the sugar industry and its influence on academics, nutrition standards, and dietary policy. Then in 2019, we started the Fossil Fuel Industry Documents Archive, which contains highly significant documents created by Shell, Chevron, Exxon, and other oil and gas companies, which were initially obtained by the Climate Investigation Center. And then most recently, in 2021, we formed a collaboration with Johns Hopkins University to build the Opioid Industry Documents Archive, to house millions of documents being publicly released through litigation against opioid manufacturers and related companies. The opioid archive is growing very quickly thanks to this fantastic collaboration, and we now have more than 3 million documents available, with millions more expected in the coming years. So across all of the collections in the Industry Documents Library, we have over 106 million pages in over 18 million documents. So there is a lot of data to explore, and we're here to help you do that and to kind of find your way in between all of these mountains of documents. Before I turn over to the Industry Documents Library website, I also just want to mention that UCSF houses the Tobacco Control Archive, which preserves records of advocacy groups, government agencies, university research, and other materials related to tobacco control. So this is part of the UCSF library, but it's not part of the IDL website. And if you'd like to learn more about these collections, you can visit the library's website here, or search online for UCSF Tobacco Control Archives. Okay, just checking for any questions or messages, but here we go. So you can get to the Industry Documents Library website with a quick web search, or just by going directly to industrydocuments.ucsf.edu. And thanks to Jonathan for putting that link in the chat. So we're looking just here at the main homepage, which provides access to all of our industry collections, including the tobacco documents. So you can go to a specific industry, or using the menu at the top, or you can search across all of the collections. You have options here to select which specific industries or collections you're interested in using these search options and drop-down menus and checkboxes. And I'll also point out at the bottom of every page, you'll find the Ask Us link in case you have a question or would like to get our contact information to send us a message. The tobacco homepage looks really similar to the main All Industries page, and each industry has a color theme, which can be an easy way to tell them apart. All of the tobacco collection pages have this brown banner at the top, and you'll also see that the word tobacco appears in the URL. You can search just the tobacco documents if that's what you're interested in, but we're going to be using the All Industry search page today for the workshop and the demo, since that enables you to search easily across all of our different collections. But all of the search features and tools are the same no matter where you start your search. I'll also quickly mention that we're currently working on a major website redesign, which is going to improve the look and the functionality of the site. That new website is coming sometime next year, maybe, or after. So if you have any questions or feedback about the current site, please get in touch with us because we'd love to know how it works for you and how we can improve it. We would suggest signing up for a free library account, which you can find here from the home page under the login option below the My Library menu. So this account is totally optional and it's free, and you do not need one if you want to access or search in the library. However, if you do sign up for an account, you can save your searches, you can review your search history, you can bookmark documents to come back to later, and you can save your search preferences. So if you think you'll be using it frequently, it might be useful just to save yourself a little bit of time. There is a lot more to explore on the IDL website. So this is a really quick whirlwind tour for today. But please take some time and come back to the site and look at some of the other options, including video and audio recordings, such as old cigarette TV commercials, which you can get to through this industry videos link right here. We have popular document collections, which group documents that are frequently used and cited in publications. And those are all here in the highlight section. Up here at the top right in the menu, you can access our news blog. And if you'd like, you can subscribe to receive monthly updates about the library. And we also have a link here to our bibliography, which was mentioned earlier. And this is a list of more than 1,000 publications which were written using the documents, many publications written by some of our fantastic speakers here today. And the bibliography really contains a wealth of books and articles and news stories, documentaries that really give you a great overview of all of the work going on with industry documents. And we recommend that you take some time to look at the bibliography because you can search for topics that you're interested in to find out what other people have already done on that issue. Each bibliography record will include a link to the specific documents that were used for that publication, which you can see in this example here, the documents cited. So this is a really great way to get started. If you don't really know where to go or what to search for, just go and look at what documents other researchers have used, and you'll usually find some really valuable information. Okay, so now we're going to try this really brief interactive activity. So on this next screen, if you'd like, you can go to this link, polev.com/industry-docs. And it will ask you to share a word or a search term that you would like to try searching for in the documents. So you can also text to the phone number that's here on the screen. And I will just switch over and try to share what we're looking at. And it can be any word, just a quick keyword that you're interested in. If your keyword has more than one word in it, just use an underscore between multiple words, and that way it'll show up as a phrase together. I'll just give everybody a minute to try adding a word. Okay. 1 second while I find the right button. Okay. Not seeing any suggestions come in, but that's okay. If you're having any trouble with this, let us know in the chat. Here we go. We're getting some responses. This is really great. And of course, you know how word clouds work. If there are multiple interests, then those words will show up as larger. Getting a lot of interest, search topics on cancer, pesticides, plastic, chemicals. This is really great, everybody. Thank you so much. So this is helpful to know how we can help you find documents on those topics. And you can also kind of see what other folks here are interested in as well. I also should mention that this is a web-based polling platform for audience participation, and all participation is totally anonymous. So I can't see who's writing what words, and this is just for our own kind of interest and use to see. All right, so let me switch back. Great, thank you so much, everyone. So please keep these search terms in mind as we go through the rest of the demo, so you can start thinking about how you want to try searching in the library and terms that you might want to try out in the practice session later on. Okay, so a few search features and tools on the website. So here on the homepage, a really helpful button to know about is this button called "What Can I Search For?" Get my pointer back. Here we go. So this "What Can I Search For?" button. And this button will bring up a pop-up window, which will show you all of the different fields that are used in the IDL database. So these fields might include author, brand, date. So these are just examples of metadata, which is information about each document. You can think of these as tags that can help you build a more specific search. And these are just some of the metadata fields that are available, so you can explore all of the different field names just with this alphabetical menu across the top. So here's just a really quick example of how you might use one of these metadata fields. You will type in the name of the field, in this example, brand. Then you enter a colon, and then you type in the name of the brand that you're looking for. So once you type in the name of the field, followed by the colon, then that will it will be highlighted. And so this is where it's highlighted in gray here. And a good thing to remember is you don't want to put any spaces. You just want to put the name of the field, the colon, and then straight away the value or the term that you want to search for. So it'll show up like this. So that's something we can practice on in the practice sessions in a little while. Another really helpful button on the homepage is called "How Do I Search?" This also brings up another pop-up window, which will show you some more tips and tricks for building out your search, such as using Boolean operators. And I will talk about those really quickly in a moment. If you want to keep this window open while you're doing your searches, you can click this pop-out button at the top left, and that will open it in a separate window that you can keep on your screen alongside. So the easiest way, of course, to get started is just by typing something into the search box. But one important thing to know about this is that it's not really a Google-style search. So when you're searching in the library, we're trying to find the best match between the words that you put in and all of the words that are in all of the documents across the library. So for example, if you searched for tobacco as a word just on its own, then you're going to be searching across all of the documents and trying to get a list of everywhere that word appears. We don't recommend that you do this because tobacco is such a common word in the archive. So when you search for it on its own, you're going to get millions and millions of results. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about Boolean searching, which you might be familiar with if you've ever used PubMed, Search Builder, or if you've used other databases and done other database searches. So in a nutshell, it really helps you create more complex search queries beyond basic keyword searches. It might sound a little bit complicated, but it's easy to do, and it'll be very helpful when you go to search through millions of documents. There are 3 Boolean operators, which are just the words and, or, not. And so this is one of those times where it is appropriate to use all caps. So you should remember to use all caps when you're using Boolean operators in the IDL. You can use and, A-N-D, to search for documents that contain all of your search terms. The more terms you have, the more specific your search will become. This can help you to narrow your search and bring back fewer documents. So we would suggest you just start with 1 or 2 terms and see what comes back. And then you can keep adding terms as you go to narrow things down. You can use or, to search for documents that contain at least 1 of your terms. This is the opposite to using and. So the more terms you have here, the broader your search becomes. And this will bring back more documents. And a really good way to remember this, which I just learned from another researcher, is to say or means more. Finally, you can use not, N-O-T, to exclude terms from your search. And this is helpful to reduce the noise in the search and bring back fewer documents. So all of this is in a search tips handout that we can provide to you as well. And this is, again, something we can work on practicing together in the breakout sessions. So a few other search tips, which will be in the handout as well. Just a quick tip about document dates. Remember that there are millions of documents in the library, and they date from around the 1950s all the way to the present day. However, you'll find a lot of the documents don't have a date, they're undated, and some dates are inaccurate because the companies recorded the wrong date, or they're just typos or errors in the metadata. Most of the documents date from maybe the 1980s through the 1990s, but as Kristen and Andre and others have already said, these historical documents are still really, really useful because they show you the industry's actions and intent over a long period of time. Another tip is to use double quotes when you want to find exact matches. For example, if you search for World Health Organization without the quotes, you're going to get results that are just world or world health or health. But if you use the double quotes, you'll find that exact phrase. An asterisk search using the star symbol will help you do a fuzzy search. And this will help you find words that are spelled differently or have different endings. So for example, if you're looking to find words that have smoke as part of the word, you could search for smoke, smoker, smoking, smokeless. If you just use that asterisk as a wild card at the end of the word, it will find all of those different variations. And then really just lastly, just think about what you already know. Use what you know to get started. Think about names of people or companies, organizations, projects, or campaigns that you're familiar with. Look at websites or companies or other organizations to validate what you find here. Think about other sources like shareholder reports, government reports, or news articles. So putting all of this together, you can start doing something called the snowball method, which I'm going to ask Rachel to demonstrate in just a second. So this is kind of like rolling a snowball down a hill. You start with one search term or phrase, but as you go, you read through the documents, you pick up other names, dates, details, and clues, and this can help you make your search more specific and get better results. So Rachel is our expert on this, so I'm going to hand things over to her now, and she'll do a search demo before we move into our breakout groups. Go ahead, Rachel. Thank you. Let me stop sharing.
Thanks, Kate. All right, I am going to attempt to do a live demo, which can always be sketchy, but we'll give it our best shot here. Let me see. All right, everybody should be seeing the home page of the Industry Documents Library. Let me know if you are not able to see it. And then I just want, my objective is just to get you acquainted with the archive and do a quick demo before you do a breakout into small groups to do some hands-on searching. Kate mentioned the great handout that was sent about how to search. So I don't need to be super comprehensive in this demo, but please, if you have questions at the end, I'll try to save a little bit of time. Otherwise, the breakout rooms are a time when you can, start practicing and figure out if you have any questions. So this is the homepage when you type in the URL industrydocuments.ucsf.edu. And what you'll do is start off in the All Industries tab. That's our homepage. And you'll want to stay here if you want to search documents from across all of the industries. So tobacco, opioid, chemical, drug, food, and fossil fuel. And you'll note under search options right here that all of these are checked. So by default, you're searching everything. So if you want to just search, go ahead and start searching in a particular industry archive. You can just go to the tab, click on tobacco, opioid, chemical. You'll notice they're relatively the same with the same content. It's just specific to that industry. So if you leave today and then 3 weeks later, you find that you want to do some searches and you've totally forgotten how to do this, you can always take a tour. So up at the top, you can click on take a tour and it'll kind of jump you through the basic navigation just to give you a refresher. So I'm going to do a quick run through. Kate did a good overview of our content pages. So up on the top right, you'll notice we've got some content pages that you can dip into and read about the project. Our news is our blog. I do want to give a shout out to research tools, which is a really great area to inform people about how to use documents in different forms, like as data and data sets for computational analysis projects. We have links to related resources. In the opioids section, we actually have guides to all of our sets right here on the left, so that you get acquainted with the documents that are coming out of specific litigation for opioids and sort of how you can answer certain research questions to get you started. And then another section I want to call out really quickly is help, of course, and that's where you can always find an Ask Us link to ask us any questions when you're doing searches. It's email based and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then finally, the collections dropdown. So this one, of course, is all industries, so it's going to be super beefy. But when you drop this menu down, you'll get a list of every collection we have in every industry, and they're clickable. So if you decide you want to see what one of these collections is about, like British American tobacco, what is this? You can click on it and it'll give you a blurb about how we got the documents, what these documents entail, that kind of thing. And then you can search just that particular collection. Let's go back to all industries. Kate mentioned the bibliography, but I love the bibliography because it shows people, how others have used the materials. If you find a paper or a report that interests you or seems similar to your research question, you can look at the article and then pull out the documents that they've used. So we've called those out, and then you can sort of get some good documents right off the bat. No need to reinvent the wheel right away. All right, so let's start a search really quickly. First of all, I do want to stress that when you're doing a search, you really do need to think like the industry that you're searching within. So you're digging around in their files. So you want to try and come up with terms that show documents around how the company's employees would discuss a topic. So what terms are they likely to use? For instance, a lot of us would talk about teen smoking, but as you probably could figure out, the tobacco companies themselves wouldn't use the term teen smoking in any of their communications. They're likely to use something like young adult smokers. Similarly, in our opioid industry documents, companies discuss marketing to opioids to prescribers. So they don't necessarily make a distinction between doctors and nurses and physical therapists, that type of thing. They'll call them prescribers, and they'll call their identified high prescribers key opinion leaders or KOLs. And this is something you'll pick up as you start digging in the documents. I do want to make you aware that you're searching a database of specific company files. So figuring out their language, their specific language, can be important. So you'll want to start off simple, basically, and that's a snowball search. So you start broad, just a term or a phrase, and then you want to see what kind of initial results come back so you can get the lay of the land around like what's in the library on your topic. So let's do this. I was actually doing a search the other day for a researcher that was looking into information on benzene. And as a lot of you know, benzene is a widely used industrial chemical. Benzene's found in oil and gasoline, and it's used to make plastics and dyes and detergents. It's also used to make drugs and pesticides. It's also found in cigarettes, and it's found to cause cancer. So I'm going to use benzene for the purposes of this demo. So let's just type in the term benzene across all industry documents. And first off, you'll notice that benzene on the left occurs, you'll get hits in every single industry, which is telling in some regards. But what you'll really need to do is narrow your results because you're getting way too many results. So perhaps you want to look at benzene as it relates to tobacco industry document or tobacco industry activities. So you can click on tobacco and it will filter to just show tobacco industry documents that have come back with that term. And then let's add some more terms because 108,000 documents is really too many to go through. So remember, I know Kate pointed out what can I search for and how do I search? These are invaluable resources. And so I would always keep these handy and in your back pocket when you're doing searches. How do I search? I'll give you a good primer for the Boolean logic if you need a refresher at any time. I often do. I can't remember sometimes how to do proximity searches, that type of thing. So let's do benzene, and then we're going to narrow it down and say maybe benzene and secondhand smoke. So you'll notice that I've wrapped secondhand smoke in quotes. As Kate had mentioned, if you want to search for a phrase, which is basically more than one term, you'll want to wrap it in quotes so that the search engine knows to look for this term as a phrase and not as separate words. So benzene and secondhand smoke, and we're adding it as an and, so we'll narrow the search since now the results have to have both of these terms. So it did narrow it down quite a bit. So we've got about 5,500 results, and you'll see up on the menu bar here, you'll have the result set, how it's sorted by relevance. You can also sort by date of the document, date that it was added to our website, the title, the Bates number. There's some pagination. You can tweak your display so you can see more on one page. You can also bump it out to see every single metadata field in every record. Or I kind of like the middle one to save a little space, but still be able to read. And then you'll want to look through these results, kind of see what you're getting back. If you'll notice right here, it looks like I'm getting back a lot of third-party advocacy type documents, sort of not internal industry stuff so much. And this kind of illustrates my point that I made a little bit earlier about thinking like the industry and looking to make sure that you're using their language. And so what I do know, and what a lot of people know, is that the tobacco industry didn't use the term secondhand smoke. What they did was they called it environmental tobacco smoke for the most part, or a shortened acronym ETS. I think it was just more innocuous and it shifted the focus to environmental factors. So in this case, I think I want to revise my search instead. So environmental tobacco smoke, but I also want to capture any documents that just use the acronym ETS. I don't want to leave those out. So now that calls for an or. So we want environmental tobacco smoke or ETS. So it'll bring back documents that have either of those terms. But I want to make sure that our search engine understands how I want to search. And so it's very logical and it moves left to right. So I'm going to put the or statement in parentheses. All right. So in this case, I used a combination of and or, and I wrapped the or statement in parentheses so that the search engine would explicitly understand the order I wanted to execute this search query in. So we got back 65,000. So it blew it up quite a lot. So now we do need to narrow more. So maybe you're looking for information about what the industry knew about benzene in environmental tobacco smoke or secondhand smoke and whether this caused cancer. So we could just add the term cancer. You'll notice I'm just adding on to my existing query. So now we've got and cancer. Let's see what happens with that. It did narrow it a bit. We've got 41,000 results now. And then here, I just want to scroll through a few. Maybe we need to pick up some other terms to use to narrow our search further. So let's just, for the sake of this search, here we go. There's an author, Philip Morris. So maybe we want only documents that were authored by that company to see what that brings back. So we go back up to our search and we add what's known as a filtered search. So Kate had mentioned before about the what can I search for button right here, and it will tell you all of the fields that are available to search in. So when you start typing a field and then you put the colon, it's going to highlight, and that tells you that you're now searching within a field. So we want to search for Philip Morris in quotes because it's more than one word. So we want to search for Philip Morris in the author field. So now we've got benzene and environmental tobacco smoke or ETS and cancer and authored by Philip Morris. And we got 2,400 results back. Now that's something that I could work with. You know, that's something that you can at least start reading through. It's not as daunting as 65,000 results. So from here, I would look to the facets on the left for maybe some more narrowing of documents. There are ways that you can, you know, do one click and then narrow your search results by the type of document, maybe the brand of cigarette or tobacco that they're talking about. Availability really speaks to whether the document had been designated confidential or privileged during the lawsuit before it was kicked out to the public. Some of them are still confidential, but we mostly have public versions of these documents as well. Formerly confidential documents can be very interesting if you want to filter on that. These were documents that had been designated as trade secret or confidential, but then had been de-designated by the court. And then, of course, there's document range. So you can look at documents from the 80s, from the 90s, you know, more current. So I'm going to go up and just maybe facet and narrow down by type. So in this search, I think I want documents that speak more to internal communications around these topics. So I'm going to look for something like here, memo. And now a memo, if a document has the type memo, it's likely going to be an internal communication. Let's click on that. So now we've got 82 documents have come back with the type memo written by Philip Morris, among others. And from here, I just will open one of these documents and see sort of, you know, what I get. So let's look at, so here's a memo. I clicked on the title link and it opened up the document in our PDF viewer. You'll notice the metadata panel is on the right, and that'll tell you everything about the document, all of the fields, and in this case, names of organizations and people have been pulled out that were mentioned in the document, as well as where the document was found in the files of this company when they were produced for litigation. The cases that this document was produced, there's sort of more information than you really need. In a lot of cases, lots of dates. But the most helpful is probably the names that are in here and the author and the date. So here you can read the document. Up in the navigation at the top, we've got a number of actions that you can take on this document. So you can bookmark the document. That's kind of one of the first ones. And bookmark is our terminology sort of for saving a document to your shopping cart area, or what's called bookmarks. So you can add the document. And now what you'll notice is if you're not logged in, I know Kate had mentioned about creating an account with us and logging in. If you're not logged in, you're going to get this little message about how your bookmarks are temporary unless you're logged in. So I can keep saving documents. I'm not logged in right now. I just need to remember to do something with those documents before I leave the site, or else they'll go away and they won't be saved permanently. But if I'm logged in, then they'll be saved forever, basically. So I've bookmarked this document. I can make a note why I thought this document was interesting. This is a great document. And then I
Rachel,
save the note.
we're going to need to move to the breakout sessions pretty soon. So
Okay.
maybe just do a couple more highlights.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much done. So let's see, bookmark. You can download the document, the PDF, to your computer to save it. You can email the document to yourself. We ask people to send us any errors in the metadata that they find, then there's a lot of errors. You can cite the document. You'll notice you can download the citation for a number of citation software systems as well as plain text. And then up here are what we call the carousel buttons. So if you like this document, this is a great document. Let's see what else is around this document. You can look at documents that were produced before and after this document. It'll bust out a carousel and you can go look at other documents that were filed with this document. You can also look for more like this. So this will pull up documents that are similar to the document you're looking at. You can go ahead and read these and then bounce back to your document that you like. And let's see, you know what you can do with a single document now? You can do the same thing with all of your results. So for this entire 20 result page, I can select all in the results and then pretty much do the same actions that I did on a single document. I can email the records of all of these 20 documents to myself. I can bookmark them. I can report an error. I can cite them. So you can do the same thing on a bunch of documents that you can do on a single document as well. And then finally, at the bottom, there's bookmarks and search history. And the bookmarks are where your documents are saved. And you can go into that area and do something with them. Or your search history will show you where all of the searches that you've executed in this session, and you can go back and save them or rerun those searches, or just keep track of them if you're running searches for a specific project and you don't want to lose your place. So I think that is it for the demo. I guess we'll be bouncing around in the breakouts to help people. So yeah, any questions, we can answer them in there.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So thank you everyone for your interest, and I hope this has been useful and you've got some real practical experience and knowledge now on how to start searching the documents. So for anybody who would like to continue with us, we're going to move now into some smaller groups. And each group is going to be led by an expert documents researcher who'll be able to answer questions, give you advice, and just kind of you'll have an opportunity to network with other folks who are here. So I think we're going to be sharing a link for people to join the practice session. So when that comes up, please click on that link to move to that portion of the workshop. Before we go, I just want to let you all know that we'll be sending out a feedback survey, and we'd really appreciate it if you could fill that out to let us know how this workshop has gone for you. And at this time, I'd like to really thank the UCSF Center for Tobacco Control Research and Education, the team for hosting and facilitating, to Naftali Offen, to Carol Magruder, Kristen Kearns, Jayla Burton, and Andre Da Silva for their wonderful presentations today. And thank you as well to our fantastic Spanish interpreters and to our UCSF Zoom support tech for helping us run the webinar smoothly. So the link is now in the chat. So if you'd like to join us for the interactive practice sessions and talk to more documents researchers and to other attendees, please go ahead and click that link and we will see you there. Thanks so much for your interest and your participation today.